Hello, beautiful. How are you today? Welcome to another Thursday Talk with Professional Organizer Suzanna Kaye, me. I'm so glad to have you here today. Today, I am talking about how over-organizing leads to clutter. So my question for you, are more choices better? Now, we always seem to think that more choices in our lives is a better thing. But in organizing, it absolutely is not better. Actually, in most things in life. So as an example, yesterday I got a haircut, which, as you can see, it's a lot shorter. But at the end of my haircut, I realized I needed some conditioner and some mousse. And I looked over at the wall of products that they had in the hair salon, and it's literally the whole wall of options. Okay, so that was very intimidating. There's so many choices that I ended up just saying, hey, to my hairdresser, hey, Jerry, tell me what I need. And I bought what he suggested without question because there was no way that my brain could figure out which of these would be better for me. And my brain went into this overwhelm and shutdown. So when we over organize in our systems and give ourselves too many choices, then it does the same thing. So today we're going to talk about what too many choices means and what over organizing means and how we can avoid that and help both ourselves and our friends and family. Hey, I don't know, Facebook, if you're in the Facebook group, sometimes it does not say your name, but hey, how are you? Feel free to type your names if you need to. Hey, Jana, great to see you, Jana. Love to see everybody. As you hop on, let me know who you are and where you're from. And also let me know if anything resonates with you. Either give me like a thumbs up or a heart or mention things in the comments. This is absolutely a chat. I want to hear from you. Hey, Sheila, welcome to the live. So good to see you. So I was mentioning that sometimes more choices and over organizing makes things so much harder. And you hear me talk about this very often because you have to think so much longer and harder when there are too many choices. Like when I was in the hair salon. So picture this. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of the Cheesecake Factory, if you have that restaurant where you're at, but you've probably been to a restaurant similar to it. Here, the Cheesecake Factory it's a really good restaurant, but their menu is a book. So there's gotta be like 30 to 40 pages in this menu. And whenever I go to the Cheesecake Factory, it is so hard to figure out what I want because there are too many choices. So it takes me forever to figure out what I want to order, and it activates my brain, and I have to think so much harder just about what I'm in the mood to eat because they have literally everything. Versus somewhere like Chick-fil-A. So Chick-fil-A has one thing, chicken, and they've got it in maybe 3 or 4 styles. So it's really easy to decide what you want at Chick-fil-A because you don't have a whole lot of choices. And of course, you're not going to go to Chick-fil-A if you're not in the mood for chicken. That's perfect. That's a great way to group like things together, all things chicken, but make them fewer choices. So that way your brain does not have to engage and think so much harder. We do this a lot of the time in our paper organizing. So your file cabinets probably have way too many file folders with subcategories, little very narrow categories is what I'm trying to say. And that will wear out your brain when you're trying to file or when you're trying to find things. So the solution for that would be to use broader categories. You hear me talk about this all the time, but that's what something like the action file that we've set up. You've seen the action file challenge that we do for free once or twice a year, and you've probably gotten the action file download before. But the action file, the whole point is every single incoming paper in your life, if it does not go in the trash or the shred, it can fit in this file that has 10 or fewer file folders. That makes it so much easier to handle the incoming papers in your life. When you come home and you've got the mail in your hands, you aren't making really difficult decisions. It's pretty obvious which of the 10 folders it goes in. You also hear me talk about the onion method, which I teach in the paper path. The onion method is another way that we narrow those choices down as we're sorting through our papers. So when you are trying to organize things, having fewer choices with broad categories versus very narrow categories and a lot of choices will help make it so your brain does not have to work so hard, and so that you can make these decisions a lot faster. You're less likely to put it off. So that's kind of point number one about are more choices better and how not to micro organize and over organize your systems. Just real quick, I want to say hey to Wendy and Janae, and hey, Facebook user near Indianapolis. Ida's here from 10 Island, and it's great to see you, Robin and Pixie, and someone from Kansas. Renee is here. Janice says, yes, a phone book from the Cheesecake Factory menu. I'm pretty sure you're talking about. It is like a phone book. It's huge, and it takes me forever to pick what I want. And I always get the same thing because I give up. And I'm like, I'll just get what I know that I've had before. Hey, Rita, good to see ya. And Sandy. Catherine, sleepy in Seattle. Absolutely. And yeah, it's harder for all, especially with ADHD, to have so many choices. Yeah, as a person with ADHD, then a whole lot of choices can really be overwhelming because I've already got enough stimulation coming in at me at all times. I don't need even more. Hey, so good that you caught the beginning, Rosemary. That's awesome. And welcome, Linda and Sue. Fantastic. So we talked about point number one, right? About how when there are too many choices and when you've over organized, then it can be really difficult because your brain has to engage. Your brain now has to make a choice, like the restaurant with way too many choices, or at the hair salon with way too many products on the wall. Your brain has to figure out of all of these choices, what's the right choice. So it's the same thing in your filing cabinet. It's the same thing if you're organizing in your pantry. If there are too many choices, it's going to take more brain power, and it's going to take longer to figure out where something goes. Now, point number two is your loved ones, your family, whoever's in the home with you, whoever might need to find something in your home will have a much harder time if it's over organized. So when we have way too many choices and it's it's kind of perfectionism and trying to categorize everything into these small categories, it's really hard for other people to work within that system as well. Which means if you have anybody in your family who also needs to use those items, that organizing system is probably going to fall apart, which will lead to frustration for you because you're like, I set up this beautiful, perfect system. Everything is labeled. Why can't they just follow it? And at least a frustration from them. The system takes way too long to figure out. She's just going to be upset that I can't figure out where it's supposed to go, but I just don't have that much time. So I give up. I'm just going to not even try. And the whole system crumbles. So we want to make this easy for other people to use these systems as well. So, for example, you've probably seen, like I looked on Pinterest, and these are some of the common photos that you see on Pinterest. These were actual Pinterest pins, and normally the common advice with organizing is to put everything in its own little container, make sure it's labeled. People love to color code their closet and color code even things like kids' Legos. Well, I can guarantee that kid's Lego collection with all of the different drawers is probably not going to stay that way unless you happen to have an OCD kid. And I can also guarantee if anybody needs to find something or put something away in that color-coded closet, it's going to take longer because even though it's beautiful with all the colors lined up, what if your shirt that you're putting away is both equally pink and black? Does that go with the pink? Does it go with the black? And while you may know the answer, how you prefer it, your family, like if your husband wants to be nice and help put away clothes, he's never going to put away clothes for you if he can't figure that out because it's just stressful. You don't know the right answer. So over organizing things in these small categories seems like it will be easier for people to find what they need and put things back. But for the example of like this big tower of all of these little boxes, that's difficult for somebody to have to read all of the labels to figure out, okay, well, we've got, I don't even know what all of these things are. I think they're craft things. So we've got like thread, ribbon, glues, tapes, adhesives, Velcros. It looks like we've got all of these different bins with everything is sorted out into these different things. Okay, well now both you, until you're used to the system, but also anybody who's trying to work within this now has to look and read all of the different labels. Even though they're clear bins, it's not super easy to tell what they are. And then they have to pull out the bin, take off the lid, put the item in or take it out, and then put the bin back in that pile of bins. So they might have to take more bins out to put it back where it was. That's going to take much longer, and people will just give up. They're probably not going to actually put forth the effort. So it's probably going to get left out because cleaning up after the project is just too hard, or things will end up in the wrong bin because they weren't sure. So if you have a broader category, such as instead of glues, tapes, Velcro, if you just have a category called like adhesives, or, things that stick things together, glues and tapes, then that is a much easier bin. You can have a larger bin called glues, tapes, and adhesives. And then the Velcro and the glue and the tape can all go in that bin. It's going to be much easier because you will have fewer bins because you're using broader categories. And it's going to be easier to access because you don't have a tower of bins to have to pull things out and put things back into. And most people can figure out glues, tapes, and adhesives, what types of things are going to go in there, versus wondering, they look at this whole box pile and they have Velcro. And if they don't immediately see the Velcro bin, they might think, okay, I don't know which bin Velcro would go in. And they're going to do their best guess and put it in the wrong place, or just not clean up the project at all. So having over-organized systems, it looks pretty for a magazine picture, but it's not usually realistic in our lives unless you are the only one using the system, or if your family happens to also be OCD, which I'm using OCD not in the clinical form because actual OCD is very difficult. But if you are prone to perfectionism and enjoy actually putting forth the effort for that. Most people, though, don't. You might, but your family probably doesn't, or vice versa. Maybe your family likes perfectionism and you don't. It's very rare to have a whole house full of people who all like to put forth the effort to keep something perfect. So making it easier for others to find things and put things away means the systems are going to last longer. It's going to be so much easier to function, and things will get put away a lot better. So Jana was talking about Cheesecake Factory, the one with all the choices. Crispy chicken costoletta, plenty to split for a second meal or share. See, she's even got her go-to, and that way you don't even have to read the menu because you know exactly what you're going to choose. Hey, Paula, great to see you this morning. And Lady, good to have you. Hey, Corinne from Colorado. It's probably some beautiful colder weather happening for you guys. That's awesome. So far, as far as over-organizing and too many choices are involved, we have talked about broader categories, fewer choices, make it easier to use your brain less when you're putting things away. So when there are too many choices, you have to think longer and harder. The solution is broad categories, fewer choices. We also said it's harder for others to use a system or an organizing organized area, file cabinets, boxes, if there are too many choices. So those broader categories make it much more clear for your loved ones to be able to find what they need and put them away easily in the right place. Pardon me, my allergies are killing me. Welcome to Florida. So that was point 2. Point number 3. Point number 3 is this is the same with systems and projects and anything that you do in your life pretty much. The more you make it complicated and too detailed, the harder it's going to be. So by systems and projects, I would mean if you laid out for work, if you had an entire project that you had to do, and you had so many different micro details laid out, it can be really overwhelming to look at that huge long list of all these tiny little things that need to get done. Versus a lot of times we'll break things into broader categories. So for example, please excuse me. For example, if you were planning an event, having the event, instead of laying out order food, if you had everything, call a caterer, the appetizer and entree list, get the quote, make sure that nobody has allergic reactions, all of those types of things. If all of those are on your list with every other thing that has to happen for the event, that's going to be a really long list. But if you have a list that includes like order food, and then under your order food in a separate area, you can have the list of make sure that nobody has allergies, get a quote, call the caterer, and what the list of foods are, that's going to make it easier, because in your main list, you're just going to see the order food and it's not going to be so many steps. And that's what we do in the paper path. So one example of this, if you don't normally plan events, would be if you had bought an IKEA desk. IKEA comes in a box with all of the different parts, and they go together a very specific way. But imagine if you bought this IKEA desk, you open the box, and somebody just dumped all of the parts onto the floor and did not give you instructions. Okay, well, now you have so many choices of what could possibly need to be done first, where things need to go. You would probably not even know where to start, because that would be overwhelming. There's so many different choices and there's no roadmap. So giving yourself a roadmap, breaking things down into the different parts. You don't need to go into micro parts when you're writing out your lists, but grouping them into larger parts is going to help. So you see in that instruction manual, it would say step 1, gather all of the small bits and pieces. Step 2, put part A into part B with screw number 1 and 2. So it breaks it down one at a time. You don't care about what the end steps are yet, because you're not there. You're simply going to follow that manual one step at a time and do what it says. And you trust that it's going to take you from big pile of parts on the floor all the way through to an IKEA desk that's finished, one step at a time, without you needing to know every single step. So another example, we do this with, that's why we purchase courses online, right? Because you could probably find on YouTube, you could probably find all of the information you need about organizing papers, but none of it is going to relate to each other. Everybody's going to have slightly different advice, and it won't be laid out step by step. So you won't even know what to do first. And it can seem really, really overwhelming if you're just gathering information. Now what do you do with it? Which information are you going to trust in and follow? What order do you even put it in? What do you do first? That's why I order courses a lot, because I might have researched a ton. I know all the information, but for me, I just need somebody to go, okay, you're going to do it in this order. Do this first, do this second. And then I don't have to worry about figuring out exactly how to use all of this advice that I just got from all of the different videos and blog articles that I've read. So we do that with courses as well. That's why, like with the Paper Path, if you're a Paper Path member, the Paper Path is my course that is currently not open for enrollment, but in the Paper Path, we organize all of your papers. Like every paper that comes into your home by the end of the Paper Path has a place. And I've created the simple methods for you and helped you with the broad categories, but I don't give you all of the information and like laid out and say, okay, go. I give you step by step. So Peggy says, that's me. Absolutely. You are not the only one. Hey, Lori, and somebody keeps freezing. I'm sorry. It's probably like slow internet. Hopefully everybody else is having a good time with it. But with the Paper Path, like I mentioned, it's about organizing all of your papers. You could probably research across the web and find most of the information. It might be a little bit different because maybe they don't teach the onion method or how to build the skeleton of your paper system, but you will probably find all the information that you would need in order to build a pretty decent paper system. But that's so much information, and you would have to figure out exactly what to do first, how to integrate it all. It could be really overwhelming. So having something like the Paper Path where I purposely lay it out, I don't give you, okay, do all of this. I give you, okay, when you log into your online library, you go to step 1. And in step 1, you know what group you're working on. With us, step 1 is handling incoming papers. We call them milestones. So your first milestone is you want to handle your incoming papers. So to handle your incoming papers, you're going to do this baby step and this baby step and this baby step. And they're tiny steps, such as gather 10 or fewer hanging file folders and a file holder. And then another baby step is label them. And these are the labels to use. And then another baby step is, practice using it. This is how to use it, and try putting 10 papers in it. Those are the types of baby steps that you want to do when a project's really overwhelming. Because if there are too many choices, and if you're worried about the entire project and what's on step 4,562, which, by the way, the Paper Path does not have that many, I would probably jump off a cliff. But if you are worrying about all of the steps at the very end, then those beginning steps are going to be extremely stressful because you will feel like you're never getting there. But if it's laid out where you can just focus on the step that you're on and maybe look at the next 2 steps, but not a whole lot of steps. You're just kind of focused on this is what I'm doing right now. And I trust, just like the IKEA manual, I trust that with that throughout the path, if I keep following these steps, that at the end I will have the result of all of my papers organized and super easy to maintain. Then that's all that you need. So that's why we order courses, right? Or that's why we have the manual for the IKEA desk, because we want the steps laid out for us, even though all the information is out there. Because all the information is too many choices and it's too overwhelming. So bringing it down, laying it out step by step, trying not to get overwhelming, breaking up those steps into categories and chunks of this is my first little milestone, this is my next milestone, this is my next milestone. That's going to help tremendously. All right, so this is what we covered. All right, we talked about more choices. Are they better? I mentioned the hair salon when I got my hair cut yesterday and seeing the whole wall of product. And trust me, more choices was not better. I really wish that they had, maybe 3 choices of conditioner, 3 choices of mousse. So I could say, okay, my hair's curly and I need something light. So that's the one for me because there's only one option. So the too many choices makes it really difficult. It shut me down and I said to my hairdresser, I'm like, just give me something that will work. Point 1 was when it is over organized and we have too many choices, too narrow of categories, then we have to think really long and hard. And it's going to take much more time and our brain is going to get much more tired trying to work within that system. So in order to make that easier, we're going to create systems like the action file that has 10 folders or fewer that can handle every incoming paper. Something like that is a perfect system for simplifying and making it so your brain does not have to kick in so much. That's why also the onion method, if you know that one. Point number 2 that I made was other people have a really hard time working within some of these systems if they are over organized. So when there are too many choices, it can be really confusing because it might not be clear what the right choice is. For example, in a file cabinet, if you've got 200 different file folders and they want to figure out where to find something for the car, do they look under car, automobile, vehicle, Honda? It's really hard for them to figure it out. But if you've got things narrowed down into broad categories, it's going to be much easier for somebody to find what they need, when they need it, and put things away correctly. So I showed you the pictures. And in the closet, if it's too color-coded, your spouse might not be able to put the laundry away for you because if it's color-coded and pink is over here, black's over here, and you've got a pink and black shirt, now that just became really hard for them. So they're just going to give up and let you put away your own laundry. Or if you have all of those bins labeled with every single type of thing individually, it's going to be really, really hard for them to find what they need and for them to put things back. And it's probably the projects won't get cleaned up. And the same with you. If there are that many choices, it's probably going to be harder for you to clean up your projects. So that sewing project might get left out longer because it's not convenient to clean up. And then point number 3 was that this works the same with systems and projects. So whether it's work or home, if you have a project or a system and you've broken it down into 5 million little steps, then it's going to be really hard looking at that really long list of steps. So creating small milestones and groupings is going to help clarify and make the list not seem so long. But also, if you're gathering information and trying to figure out how to even organize the project, something like looking at YouTube videos for how to organize your papers, you're going to have so much information, so many choices, you won't know which is the right one. So that's the time where I know that's when I buy a course, and that's what courses are really useful for. The information is out there, but what are the steps? What's going to get me from point A to point B? Break it down so that way I don't have to try to figure out how to organize all of this information and what to believe in. I just want, focus on the step that you're on. Don't worry about the future steps, just like the IKEA desk where you have the manual step by step. So there you go. I would love to hear what you think about it. So in the comments, let me know, or even give me like a thumbs up or a heart or whatever it is that is on your screen. But let me know what you think. If any of this resonates with you, if it makes sense, if you agree, if you disagree, it's okay. Let me know in the comments too. I always love to hear from you. Also, I would love it right now if you're interested in something like the paper path. Right now, enrollment is closed until later in the beginning of next year. And because it's going to be quite a while before it's open again, in November for 3 days, only 3 days, if you're on my email list, I will have an opportunity to sign up for the paper path before the prices go up. And yeah, it's kind of like an exclusive email list only opportunity. If you are interested in the paper path, then make sure to join my list. It's not open right now. So if you're not on my email list, I just listed it in the comments. But also, there you go. So there's also the link to join my email list. And also you'll get the monthly calendar of events. You'll get, in the middle of the month, I send an email with some useful videos, articles, tips, and letting you know anything else that's important. So yeah, the list is just a great thing to be on, and any list only specials. But if you are interested in learning more about the paper path or possibly joining, because like I said, it won't be until like towards the end of the beginning of next year when I reopen enrollment, then for 3 days, November 10th, 11th, well, 10th through 13th, then I guess that's 4 days, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th. For 4 days, only accessible to my email list will be the opportunity to sign up for the paper path. And like I said, that's organizing all of your papers one small step at a time. And I guide you through it to make it much easier. Then make sure to sign up on to my email list, because that's the only opportunity to do that. All right. So, hey, Ruth, good to see you. Someone said, you're the best. This is so encouraging. That's so awesome. Lori says, I appreciate you reminding us too many choices can feel overwhelming. It really can, right? It's hard. It seems like it's going to be so much easier if you just make a box for everything, but it's not. Peggy says, sounds good, but where to start? That's a great question. So one good place to start is if you already have systems set up with too many choices. If you have, let me see if I can pull that up again. If you have these boxes set up somewhere or your closet like this, then I would say think of a way to make the categories broader. So maybe it's all, casual shirts, work shirts, casual pants, work pants, or even just shirts and pants. For me in my closet, I have t-shirts. Then I have not t-shirts because I wear a lot of t-shirts. So I got t-shirts, not t-shirts, and then I have dresses. And that's what's in my closet. So my husband can easily put things away for me. And I've got tank tops all in one spot too, because those are very clear categories. I don't color code it. I don't do anything else because I want him to be able to, he is able to help. And sometimes it's nice to have help with the laundry. So that way he can actually do it too. With the boxes like these, if you have boxes like these, I'd say, all right, well, let's look at those boxes. What can be combined? So for example, we had the tapes, adhesives, and glues all in one box instead of separate boxes. So that's a good place to start. Just start thinking about, okay, I've got all of these small categories. What makes sense together? Tapes, adhesives, and glues make sense together because they all stick things together. That's a great category. If you don't already have things micro-organized, then when you're looking to organize, whether it's papers or things, try using something like the onion method. And that's using the broad categories to sort. And don't use the onion method to the point where you've got super tiny categories. You're going to do keep or go, and then you're going to do the first level of broad categories and you're sorting. And then maybe that becomes your bins. You could tell by how much is left in that category. Is that too much for one bin? Would be hard to find that much stuff in one bin. If so, break it into the next level of category. If not, that's your category. You stop right there. So the onion method really helps you figure out what those broad categories would be. Hey, BT, I'm so sorry. On hold with AT&T, so you were late. That's no fun. I'm glad that you made it. Someone said, I think this is why I've had all this clutter, because I've overanalyzed and end up having a difficult system. You are not alone. That as a professional organizer, I worked as a professional organizer since 2006. And that is the most common reason I found that people had clutter. It's because they over organized. They were going way too perfect, way too narrow of categories, and they could not keep it up, especially when life happens. Because when life throws you a curveball, it's so hard to go through all of that extra mental energy and time to put things away in these micro categories. So the broader you have, the better it's going to be. When you have a really hard time come up in your life, it's more likely that it's going to succeed and keep that organizational system going, and your family can help out. So that is the most common reason that people had clutter, is because it's not that they weren't organized. They were just trying to be too organized. So you're absolutely not alone. Oh, someone says, love these ideas. Definitely the ways that will work for me. Say, thank you so much. You're so welcome. Lori says, I'm an organizer. The more color tabs, the better, but it's a waste of time doing that. And you're so right. Others can't. Yeah, others can't use it. It's so hard. I love color coding things like in a file cabinet. And we talk about that in the Paper Path. If you are a Path member, if you're part of the Paper Path membership, then at noon, we'll be talking about basically the same subject, but we're applying it to papers and how we can under-organize rather than over-organize our papers. So over in the Pathfinders Facebook group, the private Facebook group, make sure to join me at noon. But we talk about it. I love color coding because it can simplify, but too much. And when you try to get too narrow of categories, it can just backfire. Absolutely. Oh, good. Ruth says that she joined late, but she was able to rewind it a bit and she's watching. I'm so glad, Ruth. And yeah, someone says papers are absolutely my problem. Then procrastination is my next problem. You help me. Not a problem. Absolutely. That's what I'm here for. Papers were not something that I was born good at either. Someone else says that I'm the same way. And remember, if you are not already a member of the Paper Path, then get on my email list, because that is the only way that you can get the opportunity before well into next year to join the Paper Path. We won't have another opportunity to join besides those 4 days, and it's over in the email list only. So if you're not getting my emails or you're not on the list, make sure to pop on. Yes, somebody says hard to overcome perfectionism. It is hard. And overcoming perfectionism, it's a habit. It's simply a habit that you have to change. So think about it like this. Oh, I can't remember who it was who said it. I'll have to look it up. But I was listening to Oprah's podcast, Super Soul Sunday, the other day, and she had some rerun of a show. And a woman on there was talking about how changing habits is at first uncomfortable. And perfectionism is simply a habit. So the example she gave was this, right? So cross your arms like you normally do. And go ahead. If you are not driving, well, if you're driving, stop watching a video. But if you're in a place where you can, try this with me, but cross your arms the way that you normally do. And that feels nice and comfortable, right? It's kind of soothing. We all know what it feels like to cross our arms, and sometimes we feel protected. Now, try crossing them the other way with the opposite arm on top. I mean, you even saw I had to think about how to even get my arms crossed the other way, because that's not my normal style. Like normally I cross like this. So to cross, like, how is it? It would be like that, I think. I don't know. It feels weird. It doesn't feel right because it's not the normal way that I cross my arms. But if I was to try to cross my arms that way every day, then over time it would feel much more comfortable and I would get used to it. So let's see. I don't even know. Can't even make it happen. But yeah, if I were to practice and practice and practice crossing my arms the other way, eventually it would get comfortable. But at first, it's simply not going to feel good. It's going to feel strange and uncomfortable. And that's how change is. It feels strange and uncomfortable. But with perfectionism, try dipping your toe in. Try, okay, well, maybe I'm not going to try redoing my entire file cabinet with broader categories. Maybe I will simply try doing something for my incoming papers with broad categories instead. And I will, work really hard for 30 days to build that habit, try it out, push past the discomfort, and then see how it is. And then when you do that and you see, okay, well, this is so much easier. and I rather enjoy this. And that worked out well. Nothing bad happened. Then you can dip your toe in somewhere else. Then, okay, well, maybe I will try one of my file drawers. Maybe I'll try just the file drawer with like all the financial information, and I will try broad categories on that. And then once you get past that discomfort, and it'll probably take you less time, but once you get past that discomfort and you see how it works and it works for you, then you think, okay, well, now I'll try the whole file cabinet. And then I'll try other systems. So dip your toe in. It is hard to overcome perfectionism, but it can be done because, yeah, you simply have to get past the discomfort and keep dipping your toe in, but you can absolutely do it. Sylvia says, always great ideas. Thank you. I'm a Paper Path member. Yep, you are. Not using it yet. I can find the time. My fault. Well, Sylvia, I encourage you, just get used to logging into your online library at SuzannaKaye.com. When you log in, first baby step, you don't have to actually do anything in the path. Just kind of get in the habit of maybe once a week, set a reminder and log into the library and poke around. And once you're used to logging in the library and get used to what it looks like, how it feels, then maybe, okay, well, watch the first video and see the overview. And then after that, it'll tell you what to do. So at the end of that video, it says what to do next. And then, okay, well, next time you log in, do one step. And then the next time you log in, do whatever step it lists next, because it's all broken down into little steps for you. So I made it so that way it won't take a whole long time. And sometimes you can just pop in and read it and then plan out when you can do the task later. If you only have 5 minutes, then just pop in and read. And then maybe write on your calendar, okay, well, I have 30 minutes later here, so I'll do that. Hopefully that helps. Yay, Sherry just joined the list. She says she's so excited. I'm so excited too, Sherry. Welcome. And I hope you enjoy it. The list is, I try to only share useful stuff. Yeah, Janice says that she can't figure out how to cross her arms the wrong way either. Yeah, like, okay, so I've got my right arm has my hand on it, and then, yeah, I think it's like that. I'm not even sure if I'm doing it right, but the fact that it's different feels so weird. I think that's right. Oh, I think it's like that. There, I did it. I did it. See, if I can figure out how to cross my arms the wrong way, you can figure out how to dip your toe into not being perfectionist, right? Oh, the things we do. The things we do. Well, it's been wonderful talking with you. Do remember, pop in, join the email list. So that way you can get the opportunity to not only join the paper path during those 4 days in November that it'll be available before the prices go up and before well into next year, but also that way you can get the event calendar that I send out so you know all of the cool free, and there's a couple paid things, but mostly free stuff that I announce there. You can also get the content email, which has, articles and videos that I think you will find useful, and reminders for things. And sometimes I share specials and releases that are only available to my email list. So hopefully you can join me there. Yeah, Ida says about crossing her arms, not easy. It takes concentration. It does. I had no idea how hard that was going to be. I should have practiced first, right? Jana says I'm crying. Well, thank you so much. If you enjoyed this, then definitely give me a heart, give me a thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, then hit the little subscribe bell. If you're on Facebook, make sure that you not only follow my lives, but also, oops, puppy. Also set up notifications. So that way you will be notified when I'm live. Oh, puppy's here. And then you can continue to hang out with me and me too. She's a little cold today. We finally had a cold snap. So she's wearing her Halloween costume because she grew out of her other sweater. We're waiting for the other sweater to arrive in the mail. But here's me too. She's 7 months now and she's a little monster for Halloween. Yes, baby girl. But thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you so much. I'll see you over on the email list and in the Facebook group. Make sure to subscribe and I'll talk to you later. If you're a Paper Path member, remember in about 20 minutes over in the Paper Path Campfire group, we're talking about how to apply this to your paper systems. So make sure to hop over there and join me live too. I love you so much. I will see you later. Bye, beautiful.